Good morning from Gail's Garden Herbs and More. It is Friday and I try to get an herb video out on Fridays. I wanted to talk about, I love this tea. I don't know, I just put a bunch of herbs together that I know were good to help heal the stomach and make the stomach work and all those things. And it tastes so good and I love it. I just feel good every time I do this tea. I put all the stuff I typed up and taped. This is a half-gallon jar and taped on here so I don't forget what I had. And what I've wrote on here is need to add ginger because I don't have dried ginger. So when I make my tea, at once I get it all together, I can pop an ice cube of ginger in it, and that gives me my ginger. I usually break my ice cube up into a nice little chunk and put it depending on the size of my teacup as to how much ginger. And then I put on here the directions for each quart of tea, because I usually make it by a quart, keep it in the fridge and drink it for a few days. Use 2 heaping tablespoons of the blend. This is the blend. I just made it not too long ago, but I forgot to put my marshmallow leaf in it. And this is my marshmallow leaf, so I'm going to put some of my marshmallow leaf in it today. And then I'll just put some in the jar, and I mix it too. Before I get it, I usually will shake it because like the seeds and stuff heavy stuff will fall to the bottom. So I mix it up and then I get a couple heaping teaspoons. You can mix it up in a big bowl and then put it in your jar, or you can just put, as long as you have some room left, you can just put layers of this stuff in, and then if you've got room at the top, you can just take the jar and shake it. I found that's the best. But everybody's a little different in how you like to do things. Okay, so I put the herbs in a mason jar and pour boiling water over them. This is after you've got it all made and you get the 2 heaping teaspoons. You steep covered for 10 to 15 minutes. Sometimes I do longer than that. If it's a quart of tea, sometimes I'll just leave it sitting on the counter for maybe an hour or two. Just depends how strong you want it, but I like it good and strong. Drink in quantity throughout the day, at least a quart each day. Now, that's when you start if you're having some problems, and then like in a maintenance, I'll just drink a cup of tea maybe sometime throughout the day of it. You can't have too much. This formula blends wound healing, warming, digestive, liver protective, and gas dispersing actions. Again, this is some of the things that this formula is supposed to help you with and do, and I find it helps. It really, really does. It's wound healing, it's warming, it's digestive, helps with your digestion, it's liver protective, and gas dispersing actions. Now let me tell you what's in this. And I don't measure like by cup or anything. I might do by part or however many herbs I have. But it's got calendula, self-heal, plantain, chamomile, fennel seed, licorice root, pineapple sage, and then I'm going to add my marshmallow leaf. Now let me talk a little bit about these herbs. This is the calendula. This is where I've got it picked out, the individual petals. And that's what I put into this. Because the green part maybe just add a little bitterness or something. It's not as good. I do have some calendula, the whole flower head. And when I collect all these, this is the whole flower head. Then I will use the whole flower head when I make the calendula oil, which I have another video on that I've already made about making calendula oil. You can click on my little round picture and it should take you to my channel, and you then go up there on the list and click videos and it'll bring up all my videos. So that's the calendula. Okay, and then this is the licorice root. Now, as far as measuring, you don't want a lot of this. It just takes this very powerful. It just takes a little bit. You get for a big jar like this, I might put a good sized heaping tablespoon in this half-gallon jar. Maybe not that much. Maybe just a regular tablespoon. You just don't need a whole lot of this or it gives it an off flavor. I just put a little, I might even just put a heaping teaspoon instead. In other words, it's just kind of, I'm not a real precise person, but all I can tell you is you don't want too much licorice root or it kind of ruins the flavor. All right, self-heal. I have some self-heal. This is dried. Sometimes I take old socks. It's clean. I cut it off and I put it on here because this is a clear jar. And I don't use a lot of self-heal every day. I want it to stay fresh. So I label the top of the lid. Excuse me. I label the top of the lid with round labels that I made because I can't see it with the sock on it what it says. I could take the sock off every time, but I'm always in a hurry, it seems like. But that's a little tip, putting a sock to keep it fresh. Sometimes I grow my own calendula, but this year my calendula, I just only got a handful of it. It just didn't want to grow, so I ordered some. I got this from Star West because I use a lot of chamomile, the whole little chamomile flower. This is a wonderful, wonderful herb. Can you see the individual heads? You can go into the store and buy chamomile tea and it's just little tiny dust and there's no flavor. I didn't think I would ever like chamomile because I'd tried that before and it didn't particularly strike me. But when you grow your own or you get nice, fresh, big heads of it, it is a wonderful, wonderful tea. Okay, I don't have any luck growing my regular sage. Every year I try and every year it eventually dies. The bugs eat it up and it dies or something. But my pineapple sage, that's what I was told it is, which is very similar to regular sage. It's just slightly different. Seems to do fine. The bugs don't bother it. It seemed to man. I don't know what the difference is, so I just used pineapple sage in it. Lemon verbena. Now I grow this. One plant gives me so much. I love to smell it. I wish you could smell that. But this is my lemon verbena. Sometimes I put a little lemon verbena in it just because it smells good. I don't even think that's in the main thing. But you can put, if you want a little bit of a lemony taste, you can get something like lemon verbena. This particular time in my main recipe that I just read to you, it's not in, but sometimes I like to put maybe a little lemony flavor. Then, of course, your marshmallow root. I need to get this used up because I've had it a while. It's not as strong as the marshmallow. It is a leaf, not the root. It's not as strong as the root, but somehow I ended up with a bunch of the leaf. So you still get some of the benefits, so I'm going to mix some of that in my jar. This one is plantain. This is some of my dried plantain. This is really good for you too. And I wanted to show you that I am drying some. My dehydrator broke on me. I had a little round dehydrator, but I'm just using this kind of a flat basket thing. It works really good to dry herbs. I just spread them out on there and I'll take it back out in the sun. I want to bring it in to show you. I might even just have to dry it in the house. Actually, I like drying most of my herbs without my dehydrator, but I really miss my dehydrator. I'm going to have to get another one because things like the calendula flower heads are really slow to dry, so I often dry them even in the winter in the house because that's when they grow the best for me is fall, winter, and spring. In the summer it's too hot. But yeah, those are some of the things that we put into it. And one other thing I put into it, which I just used the last of, was my fennel seed. So I'm going to open up this package that I had ordered. I grew a fennel plant and it would not, the seed heads would not mature. They were just empty. I don't know what was wrong. But no, I had a bad year in the garden this year. Just nothing seemed to really want to produce or even come up out of the ground. It would come up and sit there for, like my green beans, a little tiny plant sit there for 2 months before it grew any. So it don't usually have that bad of luck, but this year was just a rough year. Except for my, had a few things that did okay. But anyway, I'm getting ready to pour this. I used the last of it in my jar over here. So I'm going to pour this into a jar by itself so I'll have it because I use a lot of fennel seed. But these are some of the things that I use. You might want to try this gut healing tea. I will write somewhat of a recipe down in the description below. It tastes good. It's wonderful. You can work with however many herbs you have of each kind. If you don't have one kind, at least use what you can get a hold of. Try growing some. Most people don't have self-heal. It's a wonderful herb. Grows really easy. It'll take over if you're not careful. It grows so easy. I've got it in a big planter bag, and it kind of spills over the side. But I've not had any problem. I had one plant that started out on the ground that grew over the side, and it eventually died off. But I've heard them say that it can take over, but I haven't had any problem with it so far. I've moved it from different places in my garden. It just kept growing. Self-heal's a really good plant, but I might get more into the medicinal uses of each individual herb. Just know that all these I showed you today are really good for the gut. So thank you for watching. Please give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and we will catch you all later on the next video.